Okay, so I have a deck of playing cards, and all I'm going to ask you is just give it a shuffle yourself. Any way you can. Okay, so this is what I'm going to ask you. Just do 3 piles like that yourself. Then let's say you give it a pick at one of those 3. Okay, the ones you don't choose, make sure you switch places so they all look scattered. So I don't know which one you pick, and that's all you have to do. I'm gonna look away and then just do the 3 piles and then switch the ones you don't want so they all look smooth and different. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Okay, so I don't know which card you pick, but I still gonna try to find out which one is the one you saw. Okay, but now keep in mind that you shuffle the deck of playing cards. You also cut them in 3 anywhere you want, and also look one of those 3 cards you desired, and then move everything around. So I don't know what is the card or which pile you took. You know, it is difficult in and of itself to find out which is your card. So I'm gonna put it in here so there is no way I can look at them. And I believe your card was the 6 of diamonds? Mm-hmm. Was it? Oh, okay. Okay, so now let's try it in a different way. I'm gonna ask you to take 3 cards. Okay, doesn't matter. Two, and the last one. All right. Okay, so from here, all you have to do is just select any card or one of those 3, and the other 2 you don't like, make sure, for example, you pick this card. If you didn't like these 2, then switch places so they all looks like they are moved. Okay, so I don't know which one you pick. Okay, all I'm gonna do is just turn away and you can proceed to the steps. Okay. Okay, go ahead and you can give it a shuffle or mix them up. That's fine, go ahead. You got it? Okay. I don't know, of course, which one you pick. All right. So I'm gonna make up my mind and see if I know. Is this your card? Is it? 6 of diamonds again. Okay. Alright, so now let's see the secret. To accomplish this performance, it is actually quite easy. To explain it, I don't know. Let's see. When I give the deck of playing cards to the spectators so they can shuffle it, when they give it back to me, they don't really know that I actually care for a card at the bottom, so I can give it a pick. If you haven't noticed it, then you can go ahead and give it a shuffle. You can pick any one of those 2 and then drop it at first. At this point I control the ace of clubs at the bottom. And then proceed to the explanation. You want the spectator to cut it in 3 piles, anywhere they want. So I know this is the key card, the card at the bottom. And let's suppose they pick this card, they look at it, and the ones they didn't choose, switch places. Now, a good excuse or a reasonable way why they have to switch places from the ones they didn't pick. It is so they all looks like they are moved and scattered. So it is a little bit more confused. So there is no one more twisted than the other. So that's a good reason, as far as I know, why they had to switch places. And after the explanation, I know the key card, the bottom card, is in this pile. I collect them and then I put it over here, so the spectator, they can proceed to the explanation. Now, I wasn't really looking at the deck of playing cards, but I was able to barely see from where the spectator they cut, because I leave it over here, but then as you're watching the performance, they move it over here so they can start cutting from here. And the problem is because of the spectator, she was in the side of the table. Usually when they're in the front, most likely they will start cutting from here, wherever you left it, or from here. But anyway, you have to be sure from where they start cutting, so you keep tracking the card at the bottom. So I was actually looking askance to the deck of playing cards. So they cut. Now let's suppose the spectator, they pick this pile over here, so we have to switch these two. In my mind, I still remember the key card, the ace of clubs, was right here, and I put it on top. And I don't need to keep a break, even if it's not of, if it is, doesn't matter. The next thing is to give it a pick at the bottom card of this pile and at the card of this other pile, which by default they pick the 4 of clubs. Now I will explain in 1 minute how I actually look at the bottom cards from these 2 piles, but this is how it goes. If you see, after you give it a pick to these other 2 piles, if you see the key card, which was the ace of clubs, it is here, it means that the card they choose was the other one, this. If the key card end up here, then that means they pick the card from here. If you don't see the key card here or here, that means they pick the key card. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose the spectator, they cut in 3 piles, and I will represent each and every one with a number, 1, 2, and 3. Now I know the key card, the card is all the way at the bottom, is in one of the 3 piles. So let's suppose the key card is the ace of clubs. What happens if they pick the ace of clubs? They switch these 2. Notice, regardless if this is the key card remains or not in the same spot, I'm gonna lost it into the other pile. Okay, I don't care. All I care is about the card at the bottom from here and here. If the key card, the ace of clubs, is not here, that means it was the ace of clubs, the key card. Okay. If, let's suppose they pick now the number 2, you have to switch the ones they didn't choose. And I still, in my mind, this is supposed to be the key card, okay? And regardless if it is or if it is not, I'm gonna lost it into this other pile. So the next thing is to give it a pick. Notice the key card is in one of these 2 piles, which means it has to be the other one. It cannot be the key card. It has to be always the opposite. If the key card is over here, then it has to be the 3. If the key card is over here, it has to be the 2. But if you find a key card in these 2 piles you want to look at, it has to be always the other one, which means in this case this. If you didn't see the key card, it means it has to be the key card, the ace of clubs. That's how it goes. The same thing, if they pick the 3, they have to switch these 2. In my mind, the key card is over here, but it's not, but I don't really care. I'm gonna lost it with the other pile and then collect them all. Now because I have to give it a peek at the other 2 piles, I cannot lost. I need to keep a thumb break. Now don't be too obvious, don't just look at them and then lost the break. Instead, what I did, I peeled the card at the bottom. Instead of doing a single cut and put it on top, notice the card at the bottom in the attempt to put it with the other card at the bottom too, or the second pile. It travels much more because of the thickness of the deck of playing cards. So it's going to be much better if you just cut it and put it in the middle, because of the thickness of this pile is relatively thin. So I peel it off, the card at the bottom, and move it all the way down here while you're still completing the cut. Now at this point I have the 2 main cards I want to look at. Now how you can give it a look, there are several ways. The way I actually did it in the performance is by doing a gambler's move, I believe. Notice I'm holding the deck in mechanics grip. With the index finger, bring the card at the bottom all the way to the back. From here I can look at the number printed on this corner, but I'm covering all the angles. This hand is covering the excessive view of the bending card that is going on the side, and this hand is covering this other view. Now the problem is I just don't want to give it a look at the card at the bottom. I want to give it a look at both cards, this and the next. Well, what I need to do is side jog the card. The hand is still covering the side jog card. So with the index, I still can drag both cards all the way in the back, and I still able to see both cards. Now, as you notice, it's not really damaging the card, but if you keep that bending for long enough, it's gonna create the mark. But since it is paper and cardboard, you can easily restore the shape. And once again, let me do it from the back so you can see the move. I'm side jogging the card, so I need to give it a look at these 2. Index, bring both cards back, I can see it, and then cover the move, because the middle finger has to be all the way in the corner, make sure, and the thumb has to be not in the corner but in the middle, so you can give it a look at these printed numbers. So it is giving you a good coverage, just make sure you do it quickly, and that's one of the ways you can look at the other 2 piles, for a card at the bottom. The other way is by keeping a thumb break between these 2 piles, because I know the key card is supposed to be over here, the card at the bottom. I still lost it, but I do need to see the card from this pile and this other one. You can keep the pinky break, move this sideways. In the process of bringing the box back to you, you can see the 2 cards, the 3 and the queen, or whatever card was at the bottom of those 2 piles. But at the same time, it looks a little bit too obvious, but you don't want to twist the wrist all the way, so at least you want to cover the card at the bottom, all the printings. From my perspective, I still can see both cards, because with a pinky finger I'm pushing away. Let me exaggerate, like that. Notice I have the separation with the pinky. So from here, notice the palm of my hand is covering these 2 corners, so I can bring the box back into position, so I can, as an excuse to look the cards and put the deck into the box. So the second way is the same. They take 3 cards, and I want to make sure I pick one in my mind. In this case, I will pick the 3 of diamonds, and at this point I know the 3 of diamonds is right here. So when I ask the spectator to do the same thing, look at one card, they look at it, and the other ones switch places, the ones they didn't choose. So they all looks like they are moved. So I don't know which one they pick. Now in my mind, again, I believe this is the 3 of diamonds, but it's not. If it's not, that means it has to be not the 3 of diamonds and not this card. It has to be the last choice, which is this. Now the key is just for the magician to know or keep one card in mind. If the card remains in the same position after the steps, it means it is the same card, the 3 of diamonds. But if it's not, if it's this, that means they pick the last choice, which is this. If it's the 7 of spades instead of the 3 of diamonds, that means they pick the queen of spades. But again, I have to keep this card on track. When I turn away, let's suppose they pick this card over here. They switch these two. And when I turn back, I keep tracking this card, okay? So I can give it a look after the spectator keep shuffling or keep switching. Okay, I still tracking this card, making sure it is the 3 of diamonds. If it's not, which is not, that means it has to be the queen of spades. I mean, those are the only 2 steps you have to remember. The 2 steps in conclusion is if this card is still the same card that you was tracking, it has to be the key card, the ones they choose. If it's not the same key card, it means it's not a key card and it's not the other one. It has to be the 3rd choice. That's it. Those are only 2 steps you need to remember.